Hey gang, Chase here, and today we're in my office, and I want to talk to you about the new Sony PXW Z190. You may remember a few months back I took some other Sony camcorders to an amateur wrestling match, and really enjoyed the convenience and special features those camcorders provided in such a fast-paced environment. So I tried to think of a different run-and-gun style situation to show off the Z190's capabilities, and my mind immediately went to the Audubon Country Club here in Illinois. A couple months back, I shot a promo there with a Sony FS7, and I remember thinking, man, this would be a lot easier with a camcorder. So I went back for a full day of cars, karting, I busted out the old rollerblades, check out those skills, and I even got some off-roading to show you everything you stand to gain from the Sony PXW Z190. There are many features that make this camera advantageous in any fast-paced environment. Whether it's an event, a wedding, or a race, the most important thing to me is ergonomics. I was on the move all day. The Audubon has a 3.5-mile track that was split into 2 circuits, it has a go-kart track, and a rallycross track. Having a small, lightweight camera that I could handhold as opposed to the heavy rig that I used last time helped me cover all that ground a lot quicker with less fatigue. Now, I was faster, but still not fast enough to outrun a speeding race car, so of course I had to stay behind guardrails and fences, which is where the Z190's zoom came in handy. With the Z190's 25-time optical zoom in 4K, I was able to get right into the action despite being so far away from it. And if you're shooting in HD, the crop factor actually gives you a 50-time zoom. When I'm shooting run and gun like this, I like any automatic feature that I can trust that I know won't slow me down and give me just another thing to worry about. And if you're going to be handheld and zooming in all day, you're going to need a great stabilizer, which thankfully the Z190 had. It didn't help much when I was bouncing around like crazy in the rally car, but I was able to dust off the old rollerblades and got some very usable tracking shots despite how much the camera was bouncing around. Whether I was moving fast around cars or cars were moving fast around me, manually pulling focus would have been an absolute nightmare. I was actually surprised to see how well the autofocus worked, and in retrospect, it was absolutely necessary to get as much usable footage as I did. The face detection was incredible. Here, even at a long distance, with someone wearing sunglasses, it picked them up every time. And when multiple faces were being read at the same time, I could use the joystick on the grip to shift the focus to whichever person I wanted. But I think that the coolest automatic feature that this camera has got to be the electronic variable ND. We were outside with clouds crossing the sun the entire day, and this newer feature from Sony made getting proper exposure effortless without having to change my iris, which would change my depth of field. I set my aperture all the way open in the morning to get the most depth of field possible, and I didn't touch it or the ND for the rest of the day, even when the sun started going down. When I think of built-in NDs, I think of the 3 distinct levels that you're lucky to get on some cameras, but the electronic variable ND has a range that goes from 1/4 all the way to 1/128th, and it very smoothly shifted from one end to the other. When I did notice, it just looked like a smooth iris pull. The Z190 actually has 3 1/3-inch Exmor CMOS sensors that can record 4K up to 60 frames per second. I typically don't shoot slow motion of the race itself, as it makes the cars look slow and boring, defeating the whole point, but there are definitely key spots that slow-mo looks pretty cool. Flags waving, drivers prepping before a race, cars swerving and rubber flying off their tires, and not having to down-res to get those was great. I shot in hybrid log gamma the entire day, which is a flatter profile. It was pretty bright out, and that helped me save my highlights as much as possible. The camera records internally to SD cards via dual slots. If you want, you can simultaneously record an HD proxy on one card while recording the 4K equivalent on the other. And you can do something I'd never heard of. You can set each of the Z190's record buttons to trigger a separate card. That helped me keep all my footage from the main track separate from my footage from the go-kart and rallycross tracks as I bounced between them all day long. And speaking of things that I didn't even know were possible, I discovered that I could plug my travel drive directly into the Z190's USB port and the camera would externally power it while it dumped my full cards straight to the drive. And it did it pretty quick too, and it was easy. And that was huge for me, knowing that as long as I had an external drive on me, I never had to worry about card space. Now the last thing I want to talk about is got to be the built-in Wi-Fi, which came in really handy on the less than predictable rallycross track. I wanted to put a camera close to the finish line, which wasn't a super dangerous place to stand, but if the car hits that little jump at the end wrong, it could easily shift, and all of a sudden, you have a speeding ton of car heading for you. So, using the camera's Wi-Fi, I was able to set up in the position I wanted and manipulate the settings from my phone. Zoom, focus, iris, start, stop, my friend Sean's face. I could see all of them in that phone, and it helped me get the shot that I needed without being right next to the camera. So overall, the PXW Z190 from Sony made my shoot as effortless and easy as it could be, and gave me some really great looking stuff. If you'd like any more information on any of Sony's camcorders, please visit bhphotovideo.com. Thank you very much for watching.